If you were a kid in the 70s, you'll remember Pong, Atari's original hit video game. It was a primitive design, compared to what you see today, of a tennis-like game with 2 paddles and a ball.
I knew that games played on computers were going to be big.
Nolan Bushnell and Ted Dabney founded Atari in 1972, and the company became a pioneer in arcade games and home video consoles, laying the groundwork for today's $70 billion video game industry. After the successful launch of the home edition of Pong, the company released a string of popular games including Asteroids, Centipede, and Roller Coaster Tycoon. Their first console, the Atari 2600, of just a joystick and 2 buttons, was also a hit because it was the first time gamers could play at home. A teenage Steve Jobs worked for Atari in the company's early years. In an interview with the San Jose Mercury News, Bushnell described Jobs as a difficult person to work with, but also the smartest guy in the room. Jobs then went on to designing computers and actually offered Bushnell a third of Apple, but he regretfully declined. In 1976, Atari went through some hard times and ended up getting sold to Warner Communications. Another blow to the company happened in 1982 when it released the E.T. video game. Critics branded it the worst video game ever made and blamed Atari for the North American video game crash of 1983. Revenues went from $3.2 billion in 1982 to $100 million 3 years later. Atari never really got out of the pit it fell into in the 80s. The company eventually moved away from developing its own games to focus on publishing and distribution. But that couldn't stop the U.S. division from filing for bankruptcy in January. Atari looked for a buyout offer, but that never came, and now the game pioneer is on the auction block. A non-profit group wants to save the company, but it won't be cheap. It hopes to raise $30 million before the July 16th auction.